3, 2, 1, go. Get behind the wheel, let's go. Grip the road, feel the flow. Thunder roaring, steel alive. Live this dream and drive. Tires burning with gasoline. Push the limits, chasing green. One shot, don't slow, go on, we'll take control. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. The miles they fade, but they don't die. Faster now, the hours fly by. Sweat and gears, hearts in sync. On the edge, on the brink. Clock ticks down, stakes are high. One mistake, we kiss us goodbye. Don't slow down, we're not done. Finish line for the strong ones. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. Feel the rush, see the goal. Every second, take control. The world blurs, time won't wait. We rise, we fight, we accelerate. 3, 2, 1, go. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. We're always chasing taillights. You ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Get behind the wheel, let's go. Grip the road, feel the flow. Thunder roaring, steel alive. Live this dream and drive. Tires burning with gasoline. Push the limits, chasing green. One shot, don't slow, go on, we'll take control. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. The miles they fade, but they don't die. Faster now, the hours fly by. Sweat and gears, hearts in sync. On the edge, on the brink. Clock ticks down, stakes are high. One mistake, we kiss us goodbye. Don't slow down, we're not done. Finish line for the strong ones. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go fight, we accelerate. 3, 2, 1, go. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. We're always chasing taillights. You ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Get behind the wheel, let's go. Grip the road, feel the flow. Thunder roaring, steel alive. Live this dream and drive. Tires burning with gasoline. Push the limits, chasing green. One shot, don't slow, go on, we'll take control. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. The miles they fade, but they don't die. Faster now, the hours fly by. Sweat and gears, hearts in sync. On the edge, on the brink. Clock ticks down, stakes are high. One mistake, we kiss us goodbye. Don't slow down, we're not done. Finish line for the strong ones. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. Feel the rush, see the goal. Every second, take control. The world blurs, time won't wait. We rise, we fight, we accelerate. 3, 2, 1, go. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing.
Welcome, everyone, to Sakir in the Kingdom of Bahrain. This, the Bahrain International Circuit, 5.412 kilometers around, and this FIA Grade 1 circuit has played host to everything from Formula One to V8 supercars, even the old FIA GT Series. Today, though, it plays host to WEC, the WEC, by way of Le Mans Ultimate, and the RCI LMU Sprint Series. I'm Jesse Lee with Ted Edwards on the cameras, and joining me today on comms for the very first time is Katrina. Welcome in and welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm really excited to see what the cars can do on the track around the desert, in the desert today. Looking forward to watching everybody out on track and everybody in qualifying.
It's a very special day here on broadcast for RCI because not only is Katrina with me here on comms, but you may have seen Katrina around the community for the past 3 or 4 years. Katrina is Ted's partner, so this is the very first time in broadcast history we have a partnership not only for us here. I feel like we're all partners in a way, but not in the way that you and Ted are for sure. So it's going to be very interesting. Do you think you'll actually listen to him, Katrina, while we're doing the broadcast changes?
Probably not, Jesse. Let's keep it real. Probably not.
Well, you're going to join the club on that one because neither do we up here in the booth. We kid. You know what's not funny is qualifying underway. We are at Bahrain. This is the Formula layout, not the endurance layout. It is the 5.4 kilometer circuit. Not a lot of different series these days use the G or the endurance layout. It is a bit different, a bit longer, but this is not that. This is the Formula layout. If you've watched a Formula One race in recent memory, you'll be very familiar with it. It's 15 turns around here, and of course that 5.4 kilometers. A new track though, Katrina, for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. People are going to be learning this new cars around this track, and they're going to be learning how to get to grips and how to keep the car on the track, as we are on board with Phil Vick at the minute, who is currently in fourth, set a time of 1:59.4. So, oh, good. I'm not to curse anybody here, but there's a bit of a wobble there. I think the tyres and the grip is going to be important. Definitely.
Sure is. Sure is. We got two classes, of course. This championship, the Sprint Series for LMU Fridays. Welcome all of you watching at home as well. And you love to see it. So many people from our YouTube and our Twitch chats. We see you. Thank you so much for being with us here early, just underway here in qualifying. Two classes, the hybrid class, Katrina, and we have the GT3s, or the LMGT3s, as they're known here. Both classes have a hybrid system. We'll get more into that as the night goes on here in the desert. But for right now, the most important thing is getting those lap times on the board.
Yeah, they want to be setting laps. Want to be just consistently trying to set that faster lap all the time. Obviously that's super important, and currently we are looking at the 1:59s for the LMGT3s, which is a good lap time to be working towards for all of us, the rest.
Certainly the case. Just looking at some of the chats, Andy King has said good luck to Grant in the chat. You love to see that. Some folks telling us hello as well. Hello to you guys out there. Matt Malcolm, who is our broadcast partner here, does a little bit of everything around here. In fact, would say, would you believe I went out on old tires from practice? That is something you can do. Just like ACC, you have different tire sets, right? But you can accidentally select an older tire set, and that is not conducive to setting the quickest laps here. 8 minutes left to go, and drivers scrambling. Of course, all the cars here, Katrina, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention at some point, they're all different. You've got Cadillac, Ferrari, Porsche, of course, Peugeot, Alpine. There are no Cadillacs in this. I could have sworn I saw a Caddy in the practice server earlier, but that's split 2 practice. That's another thing too. 2 different splits here. We filled up split 1 max capacity for a server, so 36 some cars between the 2 classes in our split. 2 splits, a rarity these days in RCI competition. But here it is. Here is one of the Peugeots though, and all the cars handled completely differently. Katrina, personally, I think it's going to be interesting to see some of the handling characteristics, the quirks perhaps, of some of these cars we get deep into a race.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be good to see who's going to be out on top and who's going to be like battling who in the field, and whether we see a complete divide between the different cars or if they're very balanced, and how people are handling each car differently, which is always exciting. And like you say, with the 2 different splits and how many people are obviously wanting to join in with this, it's exciting and it's really fun to see.
The reason I bring that up, and probably chiefly among that, is because there's 2 different kinds of Peugeot. There's the no-winged Peugeot and the new winged Peugeot, the one that actually has a wing on the rear end of it. And different cars, of course, all handle different. And the LMGT3s are no different. They've all got the hybrid power, and how the drivers decide to use that is going to be different as well. How many will actually know to when they can dial it back? Of course, not important right now because of qualifying. About half of that has gone the way. A couple of cars that you would expect to have set comparable times have not. Nico Kuzma is one of those, driving the number 15 BMW. Jack McDonger, who just set actually, no, he's just started a lap. In fact, has not set a time as well. I talked to Jack earlier on today. Wasn't too confident. Said that anything other than last would be a successful campaign today. It's not really confidence inspiring, I would say.
Not really, but I mean, someone's got to be last, I guess. So hopefully it's not Jack.
It's happened to me. Yeah. Hopefully not. Setting green sectors on the bottom right-hand corner of your television screen indicate quickest for that particular car. Purple would indicate quickest of the session in their class. Peter Roche out there again trying to set an even quicker time. Will continue to try and go up the field near the back. I don't think they've actually set a representative time. They're on an outlap now. A couple of shots ago, we saw the back straight. Almost all of the hypercars were on that back straight, and they were weaving about. Getting heat in the tires, Katrina, incredibly important here, especially at night.
Yeah, absolutely. They want to be getting the heat into the tires, but with all of them on that back straight, it means that they might be struggling for that little bit of fresh air in between them and the car in front of them when setting a lap, which if you haven't set a lap already, that could be a big issue.
Yeah, it really can be. You got to sort of judge. They were in Sector 2 at the time, but they like you said, there were 7 or 8 of them, and you don't want to be in the dirty wake, but also, too, if you're close enough, maybe you get a little sniff of the draft. I don't know what the offset is. Do you want it? Do you not want it? One thing I can tell you, Rodriguez is the quickest so far in the number 35 Alpine. Olivier Kierten in second place in the number 6 Penske Porsche. Pitek in the number 50 Ferrari is in third place. Oh, it's Louis Kierten. Excuse me. It's not Olivier. It's Louis Kierten in second place. And Fonza just went fourth quickest there in the number 8. And Dos Ramos has gone to the top of the heap in the number 12 Porsche. And Fezkes in third place in the 93 Peugeot. It's all kicking off. Kaspar in the 83 Ferrari to the top. It really is kicking off. Business picking up.
They are flying, aren't they? We are currently watching Hill, and he's set 2 green sectors, which is fantastic, so hopefully he can improve on his time of 16. There we go. Oh, he went up to 10th, but he went straight back down to 12th, because that'll be Fonza. Was it Fonza? Oh, it's too many people. Too many people. Everybody's setting lap times.
Kaspar in the lead currently. Gottschalk in second now. Ramos, Kuzma, Felipe Pereira in the top 5 now. Rodriguez, who less than a minute ago was at the top of the heap, and that Alpine is outside of the top 5. And the list definitely goes on. There's a comprehensive list of the top 20 prototypes in today's field. Of course, hybrid cars and or hypercars, I should say. The hypercars and hybrid cars. The top class, of course, and the GT3s, the LM GT3s, the second of the 2 classes here today. It's not really been a problem in qualifying. It will be a problem in the race in short order, you'd have to say, though, with the other class being slower, of course. But you just saw something interesting there as we ride on board Raphael Huell's Porsche Penske. You saw those red lights show up on the dash, not the rev counter ones on the wheel, but the other red lights. There it is again, right there on that display. That indicates grip or loss of traction, perhaps intervention by an electronic system as well. And I think purple, there's 2 or 3 different ones. One of them is locking brakes. One of them is sort of lateral traction loss. And I forget what the green one is. Is that forward traction loss? I'm not sure. Wheel spinning, perhaps. But they all mean something. I know what the red one means because I see that quite frequently. That just means you're losing grip. You're not optimally leaving the corner.
Yeah, like you say, getting grip in your tyres is going to be key to setting good laps to keeping control of the car around the track. What is interesting to see is how close everybody is at the top. You're like within tenths of seconds. It is crazy.
Final few moments of qualifying here for round number 1 of the LMU Sprint Series here on RCI Fridays. and this is the last chance to make a first impression. Anyone not out of the pit lane right now will not have an opportunity to set a representative lap. Klaslar, the quickest car thus far, the 83 Ferrari, has Pitek right behind him. 2 Ferraris locking out the front row. 46.206, currently good enough for pole position. 34.100s off of that is the number 50. Gottschalk right behind them in the Toyota, one of only 2 Toyotas, I believe, in this field. Cooper up to 4th place. Ramos, the top 5. Fazekas in 6th. Rodriguez, Kuzma, Brecha, Kierton, Huel, Sirik, Fonza, Martins, Octane, Keller. The list goes on. Here is Ramos for the Hertz Jota Porsche, looking to improve 5th. They were pretty matchy, but they have improved upon their time. A 146.3, that was their quickest lap of the session, gets them up to P3.
Yeah, that's right. Currently on board with Billy Octane, who is currently trying to battle for a place better than 16th. We've got green sector and an orange sector. So let's see if they can keep that grip, keep that speed, and improve on their time.
Close stuff here as time will expire. And did Billy Octane get through to run another lap? I think they might have done, only just. So flying laps will count here. Everybody out there that is still on the lap will get an opportunity. Gottschalk has rocketed to the top of the board, a 45.673, the quickest by far we've seen this evening, and that destroys the Ferrari front row there. 4/10 quicker than anyone else is that number 8 Gazoo Racing Toyota up in front of the field. Peter Roche uncharacteristically behind here in that Alpine. P10, we've come to expect a little bit more from Peter Roche in these early LMU races. Has some work here to do. Didn't get it done through the first sector. Personal best through sector number 2, but he is on the limit though.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to push the car, making sure that they get the most out of the car, but sometimes that can be the difference between setting a lap and invalidating your lap. So
that's very true. There's a interesting system that deals with that. It was the quickest of all, 3rd sector, so that gets Peter Roche up a couple of more spots there, and you'd have to wonder if sector 1 was better. Could he have challenged inside the top 5? P8 for Peter Roche for the time being, immediately knocked down by one of the other drivers, down to 9th place. All these laps coming in. The track's taken rubber, which is really nice. I think the tires heating up on a lot of these cars has helped as well. Nick Cooper through, and I believe that was a quicker lap for them. Doesn't move them out of P6. Kuzma's waving the surrender flag there. Will come back down pit road. Perhaps a little bit of practice as well, getting down to that 60-kilometer board. Not a bad idea here at the end of quality.
no, that's right. You don't want to be the one to have to get a penalty because you've gone too fast over that line. So whilst you're here and whilst you're going fast, getting that practice in can be the difference between a penalty and not a penalty.
Miguel Martins, one of the last cars out there for the Proton. And by the way, if you're wondering why you don't see any GT3s, LMGT3s, it is a split qualifying session. They are qualifying themselves, and we are watching the hypercars qualify. So there are 2 classes here tonight, but you've only shown you hypercars because that is what we have shown. The GT3s, the LMGT3s, have qualified separate of that. Well, the lights are on here at Bahrain, and the fireworks already going off for Daniel Gottschalk, who has fired the opening shot in the LMU Sprint Championship by taking pole in the number 8 Toyota, 45.673 in the closing moments, enough to upset the Ferrari 1-2. Adam Klaslar, 2nd place in the 83. Right behind him, David Pettick in the number 50 Ferraris. And in the next couple of rows, of course, Miguel Ramos, but behind them, Barnabas Fazekas and Nick Cooper share a row. Michel Rodriguez, Nico Kuzma, Peter Roche, and Philippe Brecha, your top 10 in hypercar. Outside of that, Raphael Huel, Nicholas Keller, Louis Kierton, Francisco Fonza, Maciej Sirik, Miguel Martins, Marco Badalski, Billy Octane, Theobald Roscom, and Boris are your 20 qualifiers. Are there more than 20 hypercars? I don't think there are. There are. Jack McDonger, 21st place. Well, that's hypercars out of the way. Do we have GT3s? We do. Grant Willamont, haven't said that name in a long time, driving the number 31 BMW, sets the quickest time for the LMGT3s, a 159.4. Remember, the hypercars were doing 145s, so quite the pace difference indeed. Rachel Concoli in the 86 Ferrari is the front row. Matt Malcolm in third place with Christoph Estrepa in fourth place. Phil Vick, Ryan Gill line up behind them. Ellis Buckley and Piero Cini, your top 8 in LMGT3. Katrina, smaller GT3 field here. I think that does nothing but benefit the hypercars who are going to have to pick through that traffic all night. 15 seconds it is, the pace difference between the two. They're going to be on them in 3 to 5 laps by my math. So having fewer of them and potentially having them more spaced out, that does nothing but help the hypercar class, you'd have to think.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to be wanting to minimize having to go through that traffic, because the more slower cars there are, obviously the more traffic there is, which is just never good, and especially when you're trying to race. It will be exciting to see, though. It'll be exciting to see how fast they do catch up, and if there's a traffic will play part of how we see this race unfold today.
Just reading from chat, Matt Malcolm, who joins us on the broadcast, he joins us in the stewards booth and joins us on the racetrack this evening, right? I don't know what's happened to him. We've had this conversation before about Matt Malcolm. He's a decent ACC racer. I believe he's a Night Owl champion as well as Matt Malcolm, but he puts on a completely different pair of racing gloves, which you can get at imbracewear.com. But something's different about him in LMU. He is a fierce competitor here, and he's shown it again today, qualifying up inside the top 3 or so. Well, they are on the grid and about ready to take off. Katrina, I've got to ask, as we're starting order coming across your screen here, what are you looking forward to or looking for in tonight's race here at Bahrain?
I'm always looking for some good, clean racing. I'm looking forward to watching the GT3s, not just because they're the slow car, just because I do love a GT3.
Who doesn't? Very good indeed. I'm looking for pit stop miscues tonight. We know the hypercars have to come down pit lane at some point to refill their hybrid energy. The GT3s, we suspect, can make it, but we've seen them not make it in the past as well. So will they? I don't know. It was an abbreviated pace lap there as we are all ready to go and racing down into turn number 1. And it's already been, the Toyota has been deposed, and one of the Ferraris has snuck through. One of the, I think that's the Privateer Porsche has gone through. Notice one of the Porsche Penske's has got through. So from first to third is Gottschalk. Klaspar to the lead in the 83, Ramos in the 12. And meanwhile, the Alpines in the background fighting over the minor positions. But it is the 83 out in front for Klaspar and Ramos, with Gottschalk trying to pick up the pieces. They have Cooper behind them, fighting them for the third place spot with Pettick, as that was a mixed up start. I think I know what happened. Everybody can, I think, ready up, and it skips the pace lap, and I suspect that's exactly what's happened here, and it might have caught some of the drivers unawares as they were expecting to do a full pace lap, and they haven't done. Everybody got away cleanly, though. No major incidents.
Yeah, it definitely looked like we saw some hesitation going on there, a bit of unknownness, but we're into the race now, and like you say, it was nice and clean, which is what we love to see. Just now trying to keep their tyres nice and warm, and especially on the first couple of laps, keeping it clean and keeping it on the track.
Ooh, so easy to spin the car. And I don't know if that was Kuzma or Brecha's BMW, but one of them got completely sideways, illustrating your point immediately, Katrina, is what happened there, almost. And you worry about that. There is a yellow flag that's disappeared, so I reckon it was just a car that had left the racing surface for a brief moment. No major incident there. BMW working on it, I believe, trying to get around the 93 Facekiss car. Would be Philippe Brecha, unable to do so, falls back in line at the end of lap number one, but it is Kraftslar out in front of the field over Ramos. Gottschalk trying to pick up the pieces here. He's trying to pick up a spot, still working over that Peugeot and down around the outside. This may favor them if they can hang on here, and they might just be able to do it. No, it has to fall back in line. The 93, the Grabs going to lose a position here to Rodriguez in the 35 Alpine, or at least get side by side. The Alpines working together, trying to take over the draft. He's going to get over there. He's going to further slow up the BMW and try and let their manufacturer teammate through.
I think they might have nearly taken that place. Peter's holding on. He's holding on, but I don't think, no, it doesn't look like he's... Oh, slingshot back. Oh, this is very backwards and forth, yeah.
He's trying to send it. He may have caught him out there and scared him enough to overrun that corner, and now all of a sudden Breccia back through into P9, and that will split the Alpines up for the time being. 0.4 of a second the gap between first and second currently. And beyond that, you get further and further spread out, of course, as we will go throughout the race here. A lot of Porsche Pinskys in the middle of this field. Badowski, Kierton, and Sirik all together, I just noticed on that straight. I had to look at the running order for just a moment. 60-minute race here. All the hypercars should have to pit, if for nothing else, but to refill their energy. There is hard tires and medium tires on offer here for this track tonight. It will change over time. There will be other times where it will be a soft tire, but tonight only the medium and the hard tire available to the teams. Rafael Huel in the number 5, though, Katrina, something's gone wrong, and I worry that yellow flag that we saw was actually Rafael Huel going around earlier.
I think you might be right. I'm currently
Oh, somebody else was off.
In the background.
Sorry to interrupt, but I saw
okay.
a yellow car, and it is.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Pirosini.
Yeah, maybe they've not been able to like get the heat in the tires, and that's caused them to make a mistake.
Chat reacting to that switchback that we saw earlier on from Philippe Breccia, and that was a heck of a move. Thought they had him dead to rights. Did Roche. Roche eventually, by the way, has repassed Philippe Breccia for 9th place. So the Alpines together again in 8th and 9th, both up one spot from earlier on. Grant Willamont for the Team WRT BMW. Well, they have qualified first, and they have ran away. Gongali in 2nd place in that Ferrari, 3 seconds back already. Matt Malcolm holding on to 3rd. Vic and Buckley, the top 5 in that category, as we show you the top 5 in both categories for the moment. Klapslar running away. Klapslar doing their best vanishing impression here. 1 second to the good, and that's a decent sized gap. But the Gottschalk is coming back. If you're Klapslar right now, maybe you're a Ramos fan right now, Katrina, because you don't want the fastest car, at least in qualifying, to get up behind you, and you'd like to keep that buffer of Ramos in there.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to want someone that's going to sandwich between you two so that you don't have that. But what Gottschalk's got to be careful of is Cooper right on their tail. So obviously that battle for 3rd and 4th is still there, still going. There's 2 people contending there, so they'll have to worry about defending and obviously trying to get ahead as well, which is exciting.
But Breccia is not giving this up. It's a fight for what is essentially 10th place right now. Breccia going the wrong way as the Peugeot goes through to take away that spot. That car is unsettled. That is not a happy race car, the number 15 BMW.
No, absolutely not. As you can tell, you push a car, you get wobbles. Oh, I think he's going to go down inside. As long as he can hold this, he might be able to keep the position. He doesn't look like he has. He's still in 11th at the minute, which is probably not exactly where he wants to be. As you can tell, he's trying to fight his way round.
Very close quarters racing, but I think for the most part they're able to get away with it and race each other incredibly hard here early. I mean, it's the right time, isn't it, really, though, because you're never as close to the competition as you are at the start, and if you think you have a chance, you got to go for it. And it is amazing. We had so many cars 2 and 3 wide there the first couple of laps. It is amazing that there wasn't any real incident other than whatever happened at the end of lap 1, but beyond that, everyone's still quite close and still going for it. But a lot of lunges, but you see that's how sometimes in the hypercar class you have to go about it. If you get even a slight opportunity, you have to take it, and hey, as long as they stay off each other, you can't really fault them for trying.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that we said before about the damage model in LMU being definitely more harsh on the drivers, and I think that plays a part in their minds as well once they're racing around the track. Obviously, if you make a mistake and you do happen to crash, obviously it can be really unforgiving. So that's probably something that's playing on everybody's mind, especially at the beginning of the race.
LMGT3 action here, fighting over a top 5 position, fighting over 4th. In fact, that's Vic and Buckley. Ellis Buckley, who is running down the BMW and the 86 Ferrari, trying to probe for weakness. And Phil Vic, just same thing as we saw in one of the hypercars earlier, Felipe Brecha. Phil Vic just looks a little unsettled in that BMW. Meanwhile, Buckley in the Ferrari looks completely composed here. And if you're a driver that's following that, you pick up on that. Okay, well, the car's not stable. I should be able to just catch them unaware as I get close enough here. And I think that's exactly what, just as I say that, a little bit of a wiggle there on the curb. But Phil Vic still able to keep the WRT BMW in front and at a little bit of a gap, you got to say.
Yeah, Verstappen's going to be keeping his eye on that, like trying to just maximize any little mistakes, any little slips that happen. He's going to be right on the tail of that BMW once he gets there. And if there is an issue, it means he's there and he's ready to take that opportunity in that space and position from him.
Ramos still holding on to P2 in the hypercar class. Gottschalk right behind him, and now Cooper is catching in 3rd. So Gottschalk is being held up a little bit, I'd have to say, by Ramos here. And in fact, indeed, that is exactly what's happening. You can see it there. And what that's done is that's brought 4th place Cooper and one of the AF Corsa Ferraris into the fray. And now it is essentially a 3-way fight for P2. And you know who's loving that? Your leader in the 83. They are loving this. This is exactly what they wanted out of this fight. Ramos just quick enough to hold Gottschalk up, to hold all of these up, and just enough for the 83 to be able to sneak away just a little bit. And that's not a huge gap you see there from your leader, but it's something. It's more than they started with, obviously. And every corner, it's possible that it could be multiplying just a little bit. That said, the 12 of Ramos in that Porsche not really falling too far behind for the Hertz Team Jota car.
Especially because they're in a battle. They're in a fight for the 2nd place. So it's good to see that they've still got pace, even though that is the case.
Miguel Ramos lining them up and trying to figure out where they have maybe a little bit of an advantage on the Toyota. He's doing a really good job of it. This is the 3rd or 4th lap since Daniel Gottschalk for Toyota Gazoo has caught them. Still unable to do anything with them. Ferrari out front, the 83, absolutely loving it, getting away with it. Grant Willemot's loving it in LMGT3 as well, has a 3-4 second lead now in that category, doing incredibly well. Of course, this is not how we started. Off the racetrack there a little bit, but no harm, no foul. I think it's time we talked about track limits a little bit, Katrina, if we will. Track limits in LMU, a little bit different than you might expect. You go off track, you get this almost Gran Turismo style banner on the screen that calculates time gained or potential time gained. If it's green, you get no warning. If it's yellow or orange, you get a penalty based on the severity. You get too many points, and of course it can add up in quarter of a point to full points, depending. It's very complicated, but you get enough, you get past the threshold, 3 or 4 or whatever it may be for whatever race you're in, you do get a penalty and you have to come down pit lane. So unfortunately we don't get to see how many penalty points they're on, but essentially anytime you put 4 wheels off the racetrack, you're putting yourself at risk. You can slow down though, give up time and make that little graphic go green and avoid any sort of penalty. But letting off while you're racing for a top 5 spot, that's unlikely. You might just take the 0.25 of a penalty point and, crack on.
Yeah, and on a track like Bahrain, where you've got like all these tight corners, it's super easy to cut the track. Obviously, you are going slower than on the straights, but that's something that all the drivers are going to be conscious about, is getting too many points, bar points, especially when they're this close and everybody's racing.
Here it is. This is your positions from the start change. Absolutely nothing going on between Willamette, Conkley, and Matthew Malcolm. Vic is up a spot, Buckley up a spot, Vestrepa down 2 spots. Had a rough start. Gill, running 8th place now, has had a spot of bother as well, because you'll recall Cine in that Corvette was dead last. We saw them spin off, in fact, in Sector 3, turn 11-12 earlier on. So something has happened to Ryan Gill and has put the 31 BMW to the back of the pack, and that's unfortunate for a former winner here at LMU competition. So dead last for the 31 at the moment. And here it is, the hypercars in the GT3 field, but luckily able to navigate that. The best place to catch them, of course, obviously right on the straight, done and dusted, get them out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the best place for it, but that doesn't mean that you're always going to get that lucky. And sometimes it does happen that you are caught in the corner, as we just see them, Nicholas Keller, go past.
This is exactly kind of what you were just talking about. You don't want to have that in the background. Hypercars going left and right, trying to figure out where to go. I think as a car being blue flagged, I think you're warned, you're told, stay on your line, don't do anything, be predictable out there. But in a live racing scenario, easier said than done. Couple of comments coming in from the chat. We got some Fonza fans, some Boris fans, some Ryan Gill fans, some surprise that Ryan Gill is dead last. And you'd be forgiven if you haven't seen any of our LMU events prior to this. You may not know why that's important. Well, Ryan Gill has sort of dominated LMU competition a little bit. Certainly dominated at Sebring last year. So being dead last is incredibly unusual for the driver. Here is the tire compound selection. You recall, told you they had the option between a medium and a hard tire. Nobody has selected the hard tire. Everyone on the mediums for the 60 minutes here.
Yeah, it definitely looks like people have been trying and practicing with different tire compounds, and now everybody's chosen to go with the mediums.
That is not where you want to catch that traffic, and certainly where you don't want to bunch up with your own class as well, trying to navigate it, but it could be an opportunity. You see the indicators, the flag or the track condition indicators around the racetrack flashing blue, letting the LMGT3s know that there's faster traffic approaching. They will be well aware of that. They've got the same indicators inside the cockpit of the car as well, and it's unmistakable, the pace difference here. I was watching some of the LMGT3s race earlier, and it's shocking how quick these hypercars not only get to you, but get by you in certain cases. One corner, they could be a couple of seconds behind, and all of a sudden they're directly on top of you. A case in point illustrated there with Cine in the Corvette. It's super quick. You think you have time, and then all of a sudden you don't. So well done by both classes, avoiding any sort of calamity there. 15 minutes gone in today's race, and Gottschalk has gotten by Ramos in front. So Gottschalk up to P2, has a 1.7 second gap to claw back to have a shot at the lead. Gottschalk qualified on pole, was immediately overtaken by several cars on the, turn 1. In fact, got overtaken before turn number 1. Piero Cini has returned to the garage for TF Sport in that Corvette. And I wonder if that may have been an incident, as I saw a yellow flag appear.
Yeah, we saw that once we were on board. Maybe just couldn't keep it on the chat. Maybe I don't see anybody else really with an issue. So I'm thinking it's probably just personal.
Kevin Boss joins us in chat to say, I can tell you from experience, the hards will be blocks of ice in these temperatures. It is somewhat cool here in the desert on the island in the Kingdom of Bahrain. So very nicely put insight from the boss himself, Kevin Yes, we appreciate that. Christopher Strait in 6th place has still yet to recover. They fell down a couple of spots early on as well, and they're still hanging out in 6th place behind Buckley and Vic, who have sorted themselves out for the time being. Grant Willamont has a 11.5-second lead. That is absolutely huge. Not as big as Ryan Gill had at Sebring, but still incredible considering we've only been racing for about 18 minutes or so. I had to check my math on that one. Marco Podolsky looking to make up some spots here and defend why they're at it as well, as the Porsche Penske's are all lined up here. And they're not teammates here today, Katrina. They are all fighting for themselves. So while they may look the same, there's no alliance here.
No, that's right. They're all trying to go for that top spot, that top place. Everybody's trying to fight. Everybody's trying to get through. The gap currently at 0.3 seconds, 0.03 of a second. Silly. And then yeah, so everybody's. Oh, we see that little flick out there, well held. Everybody's obviously trying to get past traffic as well, which is.
I believe Nicholas Keller has retired from the race in the 93 Peugeot. And that is our first retirement in the hypercar class. Unknown what happened there, but considering the retirement of them and Cine was quite close together, we don't know for sure, but might there have been some contact between the two of them. But one car out of either class, and that's how they run right now. It is less than a second gap, though, Katrina. First to second now. Gottschalk's coming in that Toyota.
Yeah, past Ramos, which was what we figured would happen, to be fair, didn't we? It was just a little buffer. But now they can see the man ahead, they can see the guy in first, and they want in that position.
Certainly are. If I'm Klapslar, I'm kind of worried about this. Had an excellent start, caught everybody napping on the initial start, was able to get out to a 1.5-second lead. But Gottschalk, who sat on the pole and certainly was the quickest car by 0.4 in qualifying. Qualifying is one thing, race is quite another, but certainly seems to have the pace as well as Nick Cooper in the Ferrari AF Corsa number 50, looking to get by the 12 here. Had a little bit of a look there on Ramos. Cooper dives back in line. It's just like Formula One in a lot of ways in these hypercars, though, isn't it, Katrina? Because you can have a look, but entering the corner offline it's horrible. You hemorrhage time. And if you've got Pettit right behind you, Nico Koisma's not that far behind either, you can't afford to be shuffled out of position, because just like in formula racing, you get shuffled out of position, you're going to lose spots. Nobody's going to let you back in, number one. And number two, you're going to be woefully slow if you're not on the best line for the corner.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always going to be someone right behind you, and especially with how close the top, between second and fifth is, there's going to be someone there to take that spot. Everybody's fighting hard and trying to just keep on top. As we see that the Nick Cooper just trying to stay with. I'm so confused who I'm looking at. I'm so sorry.
That was David Pettit looking at Nick Cooper for P4. That gap sort of expanded for the time being, and that has relieved the pressure. I expected Koisma to be able to gather some of that back up, but nope, they're about even amongst the three of them. Chat's noticed that Louis Kierton's doing well again, and the junior Kierton that races with us here on RCI TV. The top 15 right now holding their own. They've got Marco Podolsky right in front of them and Sirik right behind them, so they're in good company as well. Billy Octane, one of our regulars in the 20 there. Jack McDonger, who thought they may be near the bottom, has actually gained some of the most positions in the hypercar class. What do you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nicholas Keller has, I believe, had a connection issue, and they've rejoined, and that's why they appear to be in the default car. Rich O'Conkley has DNF. Now, that's a car that was inside the top three. The GR Racing car has retired out of the LMGT3 field. Now, is that also a connection issue for Conkley? And that has taken away an opportunity at a podium for that car. Mirko Badowski continuing to race there. Well, while we have a moment, while the drivers are mostly behaving themselves as the Porsche Penske's continue to race each other quite hard indeed. Now's a great time to remind you that if you're interested in racing in Assetto Corsa Competizione, iRacing, Le Mans Ultimate, or a various host of other sims perhaps in the future as well, you need only go to racerci.com. We've got a whole host of races and series coming up. Deutschland Masters and ACC. German manufacturers only. We're taking a little bit of a world tour. We end up at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, though, in a few weeks. But that Monday championship, German GT3s, you can find that on Monday, and you can sign up mid-season right now. Of course, LMU Fridays, if you see this today and go, man, that looks like a lot of fun, well, you can join us next week when we head to Italy. We're going to Monza for race number 2. Still time to sign up for that and join the grid for us there. Night Owl, season number 20 and ACC live at you right now. Race number 2, Suzuka, coming up this weekend. And again, you can sign up. The only FIA Grade 1 figure of 8 track, Suzuka. That's Night Owl, season 20. All of those and more. Check out upcoming iRacing signups as well. RaceRCI.com. And while we have you, and while you're here, as we attempt to plug some wires in the background, like to thank all of you for watching us on the various family of networks. And if you don't mind awfully, leave a follow over on Twitch and a subscribe over on YouTube. It's free. It doesn't cost you a single thing. It lets you know when we go live. And we'd love to have you. We love to see the chat moving like it is today. We love reading the comments as well. Ted Edwards has everything plugged in, and you didn't miss anything really in the race except Cooper up to P3, Ramos in 4th. The Porsche Penske's still all together. Kierton Badowski, Sirich. Kierton did get by for 12th place there. No major incidents there in the interim. And of course, while we're at it, why not thank all of our brilliant partners, AK Esports, Coach Dave, Delta, Greenman Gaming, and Moza Racing. Greenman Gaming, I want to highlight them specifically. Do you know that, and I've been playing it this week, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth came out this week. You can get a significant discount by using our link in the description of the video over on YouTube, and get a significant discount just by going over there and checking it out. The game is phenomenal on PC, by the way. It runs great. Absolutely love it. I love the Final Fantasy series in general, but the team that made Rebirth did a great job putting it together for PC. Of course, Coach Dave Delta, you can get all sorts of setups. I'd hazard the guess, Katrina, that some of the drivers tonight are using Coach Dave setups here tonight, and that's why the cars are handling quite so well. But a big thank you to them. Probably some Moza Racing direct drive hardware out there as well. Big shout out to Moza Racing. Check out their line of direct drive sim racing hardware. And a shout out to Motorsport UK, we're a recommended community over at Motorsport UK Esports. Thank you so much for all of your help, and big thank you to all of our partners that make this race and every race possible.
Yeah, absolutely. As we throw it back to the track where we see Nico in 7th place battling out with...
Oh man, I'm being fed this by our broadcaster Ted Edwards, that Conkley got Fanatec, and I assume they're on Fanatec hardware. Wouldn't happen if you had a Moza Racing setup, direct drive hardware at competitive price points over at MozaRacing.com. Do you think they realized that was an ad?
If they don't, they do now.
Hashtag ad. But no, they're a brilliant partner of ours. Lovely to have them back for 2025 as well. Hard racing on the track. Here is Adam Kaslar. Took the lead on lap number 1, turn number 1, and hasn't really looked back. Gottschalk closed the gap. More than 0.7 of a second of a gap erased, but something's happened in the interim, because 4 seconds now, the difference between first and second, the Ferrari in front of the Toyota. Not sure exactly what happened. Could have just been Gottschalk was pushing extra hard there, maybe had to dial back the energy in that car or something, because that's a significant time loss. And even at the worst, fighting through traffic, the number 8 wasn't that far back.
Yeah, Gottschalk was on the tail. Something's obviously gone on. I'm gonna guess, like you, that it's an energy saving situation.
Ooh, do you think, Katrina, do you think maybe they're doing it on purpose, assuming that Klaslar is not doing that and is going full tilt, and maybe they backed off and saved a little bit? Now, I don't know how important that might be, because I'm quite certain the hypercars cannot make it to the end without pitting because of the energy systems in the cars. But I wonder if maybe that was purposeful, but even still continuing to lose time. No, I have to say, I think we were right the first time around. Maybe just used up a little extra trying to catch and couldn't quite get there, and is now paying for it a little bit in the Delta.
Yeah, I think we could be right. It's definitely something that's gone on, with Cooper's now closing the gap to him as well, so something is definitely going on with Gottschalk.
Falling back into the clutches of Cooper, and that will do Cooper just fine. Nick Cooper closing the gap up, and the fight for P2 still well and truly on near the halfway point in this race. We haven't complained about the weather because there's nothing to complain about. The only thing really to complain about is what Kevin Boss talked about earlier. The weather is quite cold here in the evening, and that's not conducive to grip. But beyond that, no real complaints here, as there often usually isn't. No real sand to contend with as well. Grant Wilmot, 23, call it 24 seconds out in front of Matt Malcolm, who's taken over the P2 spot. Vic in the 46 in third place. Vestrepa has now officially recovered into fourth place. I believe that's where they started. They were shuffled down to sixth. The Sinian Conklin have DNF'd out of that group. That lifts Gill up to sixth. Buckley in P5. But that is how they run. Willamont, Malcolm, Vic, Vestrepa, Buckley, and Gill. No, excuse me. Yeah, Vestrepa is back where he was. Vic's up 2 spots. Matt Malcolm up in P2. And I'll say it again. Say it till the cows come home. What has got in to our resident Scotsman, Matt Malcolm? He is on a different planet in Le Mans Ultimate.
He's definitely found his groove. Definitely something's going on. I mean, I don't know what you have for breakfast, but I'd like some next time, please.
I mean, the Scottish are built different, I suppose. Proud Scotsman Matt Malcolm joins us on commentary, joins us in the stewarding booth, and showing him how to drive a race car here tonight. And Matt Malcolm, of course, is a champion. He's an RCI champion, but perhaps in the silver class. You wouldn't necessarily expect this surge of speed. I've asked him once, what is the difference? He just kind of gets on with it. And it's just pace. He's got absolute pace here. Nobody having more pace than this man. Team WRT number 31, Grant Willamont. That BMW has been untouchable. In fact, nobody on the pit straight with him. Just nobody in the background. Look, he has gone. Maybe a time to prop the feet up a little bit and take a victory lap for 30 minutes, but we all know it's not that easy. You got to stay on it, and we'll see. We saw at Sebring, I would say half to 3/4 of the LMGT3 field got into NRG trouble. They had to come down pit lane to refill it, and the way you do that is quite simple. Just like putting fuel in the car, you've got to stop in your pit box, and it will automatically add that energy back to the car. You can't hit zero. Neither class can hit zero. If you do, you get a hefty penalty. Close racing here. Breccia looking up the inside, not taking no from an answer from the 93, and will just about skirt their way through, but they were 3 wide for a moment, potentially, and they were almost out of racetrack. But that is Philippe Breccia in front of Barnabas Fazekiss, but only just. And look at this. Fazekiss down the inside. Nope, not quite getting it done there. As looks like Philippe Breccia will endure for WRT, and they will take 8th place. Oh, but looking up the inside, here's Barnabas. Barnabas using the tightest section of the racetrack, banging doors, banging wheels, and he's going to strand, putting Breccia out there. The Ferrari wanting to get out of the way. They split him, and they continue on side by side, and it's going to be Breccia back out in front. Still not giving up the fight as Facekiss, looking to the outside, falls back in line, has a sniff up the inside. He's going to get there. The track won't favor him as it turns back to the right here, and it'll be Breccia all along, but even still, what an excellent fight between these two over 8th.
Yeah, I don't think this is the last that we're going to see of that fight. I think they're going to be backwards and forth for a little while. They're both wanting that place so bad. Let's hope that they keep it nice and clean.
John Dalton in chat has just said, that poor Ferrari. What do you mean? He had a front row seat to a great battle. Look at him go.
It was cinema. It was pure cinema.
Oh, I thought he was going to pit lane there
see.
for a second. I thought Breccia was going down pit lane. The A pillar in the Peugeot sold us a dummy there. I thought for a second that Breccia was going to make the pass, hold Barnabas up, and then come down pit lane. That would have been absolutely brilliant. I will mention something. I haven't noticed any of the hypercars coming down pit lane, and that's weird because a lot of times you'll see them come down halfway and split the race in half. As far as I know, that has not happened. So we expect them to have to come down pit lane, but that doesn't necessarily mean they will have to come down pit lane because, again, it's a new sim. It's a new sort of situation with this energy hybrid system, and they may know more than we know up here, just like at Le Mans, where years ago they definitely said that Audi one year could not make the finish. They had to come in and pit for fuel, and they didn't. They made it. So we'll see if we're being sold here on something that isn't true, sold a fallacy. But for right now, none of the hypercars, as far as I know, that are still in the race have not, or none of the hypercars have come down pit lane. Klatslar leads Gottschalk. Gottschalk closing in, has taken a second off the time though.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe they did have an issue before, maybe a little wobble, maybe a little cut, maybe that they had to give back time, and that's why they were a little bit slower on that lap before. Definitely coming back, definitely can feel it.
We'll see if he can complete it. Second place is not the end of the world, especially for a long campaign, folks. This is a long championship. We start out here tonight, and we're at Monza next week, and then Fuji, then Portimao, Sebring, Spa, Circuit of the Americas. We end up at Interlagos in South America to end the championship. It's a long old campaign. You can't win the championship today. I'm going to argue you can't lose the championship today, but you always want to start with your best foot forward. And certainly Grant Wilmot and Kassler exemplifying that for the time being. Nicholas Keller has joined us in the YouTube chat saying server disconnect, then didn't load the setup. Bad first race, it seems like. Yep, teething issues. It's going to be a problem, and it's a problem for the drivers. It's a problem for us up here in the booth learning a brand new sim. It's different but the same. So Nicholas Keller has not had a great debut, it seems like. Kevin Boss excited to join for round number 2 in Split 2 as well. We'll be keeping you up to date on both categories throughout the season. There's 2 splits, Split 1 and Split 2. And next week, when we go live for Monza, we'll update you on how race 1 for Split 2 went, and we'll do that all season long. Fight here, though, for third place, it looks like.
Yeah, Christoph is trying to just close that gap. They got really close at one point coming down into the first corner, but it seems to have backed off a little bit, wondering if it's a bit of mind game, seeing if the car in front, Phil, will just make a few mistakes, run a bit wide, have to give back some time, and we can capitalise on that.
Well, Phil Vick looked unsettled earlier, you'll recall. That's that BMW that was on the curbs a little bit, but it looks settled in now at least. And it could have just been a tire temp issue or sort of a comfort thing. Remember, this part of the lap, oh my goodness, close here, the 75 trying to make their way through. They can't quite do it. It's going to flash all of the lights on the car. I mean, there's nowhere to go, unfortunately. But able to get through eventually is Boris. in the number 75. But I got to say, credit to Boris there. Could have forced the issue, could have been an accident. Realized that, nope, I'm going to get blocked here. Had to let off. Voiced his frustration, flashing the lights, which, of course, you can do. But even still, made the right choice there, did Boris.
Yeah, that's it. You've got to think about your race as well. Like, it couldn't affect you. And although Boris is in 19th, you know, like you say, this is a long season. The result here can make a difference to the rest of the championship.
Not how you start, it's how you finish, I was always told. And, well, as good as that is, I would rather start and finish strong. And unfortunately, though, that there's only one winner. Or in this case, it's multi-class. There's only two winners, one in each category for tonight's race. So if you've had a bad race, you look forward to next time and you try to do better next time. Some of these competitors have a little bit of a leg up. They've raced LMU. They've done some of the weekly and daily races that are available, and they've raced in the RCI events that we've had here as well in our competition leading up to the very first championship, which this is the start of our very first championship in LMU. And I gotta say, 20 some minutes from the checkered flag, it's definitely been successful, hasn't it? The race has gone off. Not been a ton of incidents, a lot of cars, some 36 cars on the grid. Not a lot in the way of drama as far as incidents. And Francesco Fonza is the first car to come in. Brings one of the number 8 Toyotas into pit lane. It was a little off their mark, had to be put back into position. Now they'll be putting fuel in the car. They'll be replenishing the hybrid energy in that car. Was it a tire change? Your guess is as good as mine. But down and gone is Fonza, and that is the first of our pitters that we've noticed.
Yeah, maybe we'll...
Curious.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I'd be curious if they've taken tires, because I don't know if it adds more time or not. We'll find out eventually, but you were going to say.
I was going to say maybe this will be the start of the chain reaction that we see other hypercars now coming in after we've seen one person in. It normally is like a chain reaction.
According to that graphic, no tires taken for Francisco Fonza. So that would explain why it's quick. To replenish the energy, you'd think they have to put something in the car. They don't. It's literally an electrical thing. They have a maximum amount of energy they can use in a prescribed period of time, and they have to come down and stop in the box, and they get their energy back. So it's not that it's not like an actual electric car where you have to recharge it. It has energy in reserve. It's not a capacity problem. It's a efficiency problem that they have to work out to put that in as simple words as possible.
Yeah, with 20 minutes left, fresh tires could change the game, but obviously that would mean that your pit stop was longer. So yeah. I don't think we'll be seeing many change their tires.
If you're near the back, do you risk it? I mean, does anyone risk it? If you're near the back, if you're McDonger, for instance, or Martin, Sirik, maybe you're Badowski or Kierton, and you've been stuck together all race, do you risk it strategy-wise? Yeah, you're going to be behind, but surely you would have a marked advantage here. I mean, well, that being said, if you were going to do that right, you would have done that earlier near the halfway point. I think now we're getting to the point where you don't want to do that because there's not enough time left. But is there any scenario, Katrina, where you would have done it, taken the tires?
I think you're right. If I was in one of the back runners, you know, struggling a bit maybe, stuck in the same loop, like stuck between the same cars, I think I probably would. I think personally, why not? What have you got to lose at that point?
I think that's a fair assessment. I don't think any of our top 10 will be coming in and dealing with that. Kevin Boss going into more detail about the difference between virtual energy and state of the charge. Yeah, the state of the charge is not a problem. In fact, we don't even have a graphic for that. The NRG is supposed to tell you how much virtual energy the cars have. That graphic, unfortunately, working in the early access state of Le Mans Ultimate, but to be completed at some stage. It works in single player, doesn't quite work in multiplayer yet, but of course early access, and we'll get that taken care of. They'll get that taken care of at some point in the future. It will be nice to have that working, so we'll be able to tell you or show you exactly how much charge they're using. It would help us with the battle for P1 as well. We could have quite easily have told how much energy was being used there, but alas, on a later date. Kim Boss also saying, if you have no state of charge in the LMDH, it's a huge problem. Yeah, I could imagine that. If you completely run out of that, that would be absolutely wrong. 17 and a half minutes. We've had our first hypercar come down pit lane. We suspect the LMGT3s can make it if they've been a bit frugal. We don't suspect the hypercars can make it. So what do we think? What do we reckon? They're going to come down last second, you'd imagine, here if they've stayed out this long.
Yeah, if we're 17 minutes left, I would imagine that we're going to see last minute pit stops just to literally get them to the end. But I'm not in the car and I can't tell you what everybody's going to do. Someone might surprise us.
Yeah, see, that's the brilliant part. Drivers are peculiar in that way. You can't really know for certain. One of the cars coming in right there. In fact, it's Mikel Ramos for the Hertz Team Jota team down the pit lane as if on cue. And that's exactly illustrating the point. We don't know what the teams or what the drivers are thinking. They could be coming in now to try and get out of lane or out of line with whom they had been racing against. Smart money is coming in a little bit earlier, could give you the undercut, but it doesn't always work out like that. That's a long pit stop. That's time, surely.
It definitely seemed longer than the last pit stop that we watched.
That either had to be tires or they took an obscene amount of fuel in that car.
Yeah.
Very interesting indeed. We'll see. Well, Mikel Ramos rejoins the fray down in 17th place, but they're only the second hypercar to come down pit lane. Looks like Christoph Streipa is up to P2. They've gotten by Vic, and they are up to second, 35 seconds off the lead, but theirs makes no difference to them as one of the Ferraris is off. And have they made it all the way to the barrier, I wonder?
Yellow flag. I'm guessing they've probably hit the barrier there, Jesse.
Oh my dear, one of the cars, it was one of the Ferraris, didn't quite catch the number, but they exited stage left, camera right, and I worry that they may have made it to the barrier. That car was going at a good clip. There is a solid wall over there, but I don't see a Ferrari missing the front end, and they will fly off, folks, that front clip. So I don't suspect they made it all the way to the wall. Luckily here at Bahrain, the walls are somewhat recessed off of the racetrack. I think they just about got away with it, whomever that Ferrari was. That might have been Jack McDonger, in fact, off of the racetrack. They seem slightly out of position, but no damage.
Yeah, it does look like that they've got away a little bit scot-free there with the wall and the barriers.
McDonger doesn't look hurt in any way or shook in any way as they just continue on, but it was a scary moment if that was Jack, whose only goal tonight was not last. Well, we can guarantee they're not last. Looking for a top 20 here tonight, looking like it's on no matter what, as Theobald Roscom brings one of the Porsche Penske's into pit lane. And how long do they sit here? Back up on the jacks here. So that's interesting. And they are down and away. I've never seen it do that twice. But all things being equal, that looked like a pretty quick stop, except they had to rejack the car for a lot of. Andy King in our Twitch chat has just mentioned that they think Grant may win LMGT3. Well, Andy, don't stick your neck out too far, all right? Don't get too far out on that limb, all right? That's a bold claim.
Oh, here we are on board with Ryan, who's currently trying to get past Ellis.
Ryan Gill, who was dead last as one of the Peugeots was off of the racetrack there. Ryan Gill trying to make up some of these spots, so is looking for a podium. Told me earlier if they were able to achieve a podium here in LMGT3, that would be considered a win against this competition. It's certainly putting him in the running for the championship. Second place, Daniel Gottschalk brings the Toyota Gazoo number 8 in the pit lane out of second. Looked like a routine stop to me. No tires there, you'd have to imagine. Louis Kierton brings one of the number 6 Porsche Penske's in. And so is Marco Badowski, who follows them right in as well. The second place has come in. And it looked like 11 and 12th has also come in as well. Ryan Gill continuing to hound the Ferrari for the final podium spot here. Ryan Gill was dead last at the end of lap number 1 or thereabout. Has now driven almost back up to the podium. The only thing in their way, the 86 Ferrari of Buckley here.
Jesse, I've got a thought. I'm gonna throw it out there. I wonder whether we saw some of the GT3s playing a bit of a field game, hanging back, making sure that they can get to the end with their energy. And now they've realised that they've got enough energy, the pace has come back. Because we've seen, we saw Verstappen and we saw Gill that were far back, and now they seem to gaining places.
It's an interesting theory, Katrina, and Tom Bryant has joined us in chat to mention that the LMGT3s are going to pit. Vestrepa and Malcolm have both come into the pit lane and are back out. The top 3, as you can see there, the 0 indicates cars that haven't pitted. Oh no, and it's going to be contact. One of the Gazoo cars, one of the 8s. Now, was that Gottschalk? I don't know, but contact with Buckley, and that will allow Gill up to 3rd, but more importantly, Ellis Buckley and Daniel Gottschalk, running 3rd and 2nd respectively in their classes, has had contact, the most major of incidents thus tonight, and that might be all said and done for Gottschalk for maybe the win, surely, but perhaps even a podium, as Grant Willamont, I believe, has just come out of the pit lane now.
Yeah, he's been in for his pits and he's happily come out in first place.
Oh my goodness, carnage inside the final 15 minutes. P2 in the hybrid or the hypercar class. Your pole sitter Gottschalk involved in an incident with Buckley, who was running 3rd at the time. Ellis Buckley's coming to pit lane. He's going to be absolutely beside himself. Was setting up for a fight with Ryan Gill for the final podium spot. Ryan Gill still hasn't pitted. Willamont has. Gill up to 2nd for the time being, will be the only LMGT3 that has yet to come into pit. Billy Octane pitting out of the hybrid class, the hypercar class.
Yeah, maybe Gill stayed out and tried just to get some laps in whilst everybody's pitting. We've currently just seen Malcolm has DNF'd as well.
Matt Malcolm, who's run inside the podium places all night in LMGT3, has retired the 155 Spirit of the Race Ferrari into the pit lane and into the garage. As your leader, Adam Skaplar, into the pit lane for routine pit stop. This is it looked ever so slightly longer than some of the other pit stops. This is going to be close here. There is no ghosting. This is really close. I wonder if the 35 knows that. Michelle Rodriguez for Alpine into the lane. Scared the absolute crap out of Kapslar there, right there. I know. Kapslar knew, Daniel Gottschalk has had nothing but trouble ever since coming into the pit lane.
Yeah, I'm guessing they're probably holding damage, Jesse, to be fair.
True. Could very well be. Steering wheel looks straight, but that doesn't mean the aero isn't messed up in a way that makes that car unwieldy, you know.
Yeah, that's true. Malcolm's just popped into the chat and he said terminal suspension damage was the reason for his DNF.
So Matt Malcolm has had contact with someone or something and has led to their retirement. Oh my goodness, it's all coming undone in the final moments of this race, and it's all kicking off in our YouTube chat. Kevin Boss has gifted 5 memberships to support RCI TV over on YouTube. Tom Bryant's got one. Mikhail Sundstrom's got one. Joffreheim's got one. Grim Lilith has got one. And Tom Schobern has all been gifted memberships to the RCI channel by Kevin Boss. Kevin Boss has said, Happy New Year, RCI. Happy New Year to you, buddy. We hope you're doing well out there on the road. Absolutely mega. If you did receive the gift membership from Kevin Boss, make sure you thank him. That's absolutely huge. That's super generous, Mr. Boss. And you couldn't have done it at a worse time where it's all kicking off. It's all crazy. Adding to the chaos, Kevin Boss. Speaking of Kevin Boss, event manager for Mondays, if you haven't already, join the Deutschland Masters Championship. It was insane this past Monday. We expect this coming Monday to be more of the same.
Yeah, just on the track at the minute with 3rd place of the hypercars. We see someone going into the pits, which is 4th currently. Martin coming in for their pit stop, probably to see him out the rest of the 7 minutes left of the race.
Final few moments, a lot can go on here. Our entire podium, essentially, in the hypercar class has been upset by this, and looks like Kapslar will win this race, barring any late race antics here. Pettit will get 2nd place. Rodriguez in the Alpine, who looked really strong in practice in the opening part of qualifying, might be rewarded. Patience and perseverance might be rewarded. That Alpine might be P3 here today. Well done indeed, if the case. But here's Adam Kapslar, who has just not made a mistake here tonight. Katrina, you have to say, it's just been immaculate.
Yeah, fantastic racing, fantastic composure, and managed to keep in the car on the track, you know, through the traffic as well of the GT3s.
Well, as always, of course, we have a whole slate of racing coming up. A new iRacing champ to be announced if you're into that. LMU championship underway as of tonight, and ACC Deutschland Masters Championship Night Owl on Saturday night as well. Night Owl on Saturday night as well on ACC. More than enough to get your racing fix. Go to racerci.com. Check all of that out. And before we wrap up, if you haven't already, leave a follow over on Twitch and subscribe for free over on YouTube. We'd very much appreciate that as well. A lot of racing left to go in this championship, but looking like it's going to be Kapslar who fires the opening shot, so to speak. Took the lead into turn 1, never looked back, and now enjoys a 9-second lead. Shout out to Pettit, Rodriguez, and everyone else who kept them honest. One little mistake, though, from the 83, and this all goes away in the final 5. Meanwhile, a little bit behind them, Barnabas Facekiss finds themselves in the middle of a fight for their position. That's Fonsa in front of them, and Olivier Kierton just up the road, or no, excuse me, Louis Kierton. I'll never not get that wrong. My apologies to the Kierton family, but Louis Kierton in front of them. Louis Kierton looking to get a top 10 here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. We see him pushing that space, getting close, looking to see whether they're going to take the wide line, go around the outside, see if they can get the switch back underneath, which they don't look like they can do right now. But just so close, holding on, just waiting for the time.
Going to be around the outside. I don't know about you, Katrina, but every time they get really close to touching, I try to grab onto something sturdy to steady myself, despite the fact that I'm not in the seat. I'm not the one driving the car, but I did just then. I grabbed onto the table. I was so afraid that there was going to be contact, but just like most instances tonight, no contact, just good racing. Barnabas Facekiss in 11th place there. Kevin Boss correcting me, saying that, yeah, when it's chaotic, essentially saying that the best time to gift subs is when it's chaotic. And you know what? You're absolutely right, Kevin. I didn't think of it like that, but that's absolutely the case. Has something happened here to the 15? I suspect it might have done. Nico Kuzma looked slow indeed, but they are back up to speed now. But that car is not right. Miguel Ramos into the pit lane, and I believe this
We've
is the
already
second pit stop.
pitted.
from
Yeah,
him.
I was gonna say. Yeah, I think maybe we saw him do a really quick pit. Maybe fuel wasn't right, or
Do you know what? It's very easy to do that because in LMU, the fuel indicator tells you how much fuel you're going to leave pit lane with, not how much you're adding. And if you're unaware of that, you may think you're adding 12 liters of fuel, but instead you're adding up to 12 liters of fuel. If you already have 10, you're only putting 2 liters in, and that wouldn't have been enough. So if you don't read your HUD correctly, you can get caught out, and I would reckon that's what's happened to Ramos here.
yeah, unfortunate really to have to go back in. But it seems like he wants to finish the race, so he's gone back in. If that is the case, he's fueled back up and he's got back out. Yeah, worth noting that Gil obviously came in for his pit and is now behind Phil Vick as well.
Certainly is. Some positions still in doubt here in the final couple of minutes. Just enough time for another lap or two in the opening round of the RCI Le Mans Ultimate Sprint Championship. Round number 1 here from Bahrain International Circuit in secure Bahrain, the Kingdom of Bahrain indeed. Tiny island, and hard to point to. I might be one of a handful of Americans that can point to it on a map. It's small, but has a brilliant sort of racing history now with the Bahrain circuit, and it certainly put on a show for us tonight under the wonderful floodlights here. And I think a lot of teams are going to be happy with their result tonight. I think those that aren't happy with their result are going to be happy to be going to more familiar territory in 1 week's time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a fantastic race today, and the first race of the series. Obviously, we love to see great racing in the first race, and hopefully everybody that has DNF comes back and they can make up some of the points that they have missed out on this race.
Well, you win this week, you could DNF next week. It could happen to anybody. Incidents do not particularly or usually play favorites with anybody. So you could be on the winning side this week and on the losing side next week. It's, the fleeting feeling of victory, certainly you'd have to say. 20-some seconds left and just enough time to finish up their current laps and finish up their current fights. Miguel Ramos may have one more in them as they fight for 13th place here. Again, all points will be important, and you can't give up. Adam Klaswar is going to slow down, had a 10-second lead. There is the start-finish line, waiting for it. And is it that line or is it the next one? I'm not entirely sure. Formula One uses a different line, and that is going to be your checkered flag. Adam Kapslar wins for AF Corsa in RCI's first Sprint Championship Series race here in Bahrain. Pettit will come across in P2. Rodriguez will finish third, and actually they're still going. So apparently it's either he rolled over that line or it's +1 lap.
I think he might have rolled over it just before the time ticked down, Jesse.
Okay, I'll say everything I said in a minute and a half's time again.
Yeah, that's fair. Currently, I don't think anything's going to change, and I think he still will win with a 43-second gap.
Well, he gave Klaswar gave up his 10-second gap, and that is second place right behind him right now, but has just enough of it left that it will be okay, as he was able to outrun them all night. That was very scary moment, though. That would be a hell of a way to lose a race, let's be completely honest. Jack McDonger has also got the fuel wrong on the car. They're coming down. The +1 lap has screwed some drivers, including Rafael Huel, as they have had to come back down pit lane. Klaswar was trying to save everybody that fate, but it's gone wrong. They tried to nail the strategy. Unfortunately, +1 lap has ruined it, and Adam just rolling over the line with 1 second, and I was wondering what line it was, and it was the Formula One line. But for the second time, Adam Kapslar will come across the line to win it here in Bahrain. We'll just pretend that was the first time I said that.
Yeah, I've never heard it before.
I appreciate you being on my team there. It looks like, Rodriguez. Rodriguez has gotten through Pettick. Rodriguez, I think, finished P2, unless the order can be jumbled up post-race. It looks like the Alpine of Rodriguez has finished 2, and Pettick is 3rd. Cooper, Roche, Kierton. Louis Kierton, P6. Facekiss, Sirich, Bonza, Gottschalk will be a frustrating day for that driver. Kuzma, Brecha, Badowski, Martins. Gottschalk's in the pit lane, mind. It will be Grant Willamont who will win it in LMGT3 over Christoph Strepa. Vic in 3rd. Gill just 1 step off the podium. And everyone else in that class off of the racetrack. Final few finishers coming through. Raphael Huell will come through and finish the race. So drama here at the end. Boris Shekrzev celebrating a little bit, sliding the car all the way off the racetrack, showing you how agile the car is. It wasn't easy to break the traction there, but got it done, did Boris. Here's your winner in LMGT3, Grant Willamont, and just a brilliant race start to finish.
Yeah, absolutely. Just kept it nice and clean out front and kept it in the first position for LMGT3s.
Yeah, it's not easy to say. The acronyms will catch you up. It catches me up. I keep calling this class the hypercar class because I'm a fossil. But in the hybrid car class, it's Adam Kapslar who wins round number 1. It is Michel Rodriguez in P2 confirmed. I don't know what happened to David Pettick. I don't know if they were caught or they had to save energy or were coasting to the line, but the Alpine will take P2. Pettick 3rd. Nick Cooper in 4th place. 3 out of the 4 top finishers, all Ferrari there, and all of the top 5 Ferrari and Alpine with Peter Roche in 5th. Louis Kierton in 6th place. Barnabas Facekiss 7th. Maciej Sirich in 8th. Francesco Fonza in 9th. Nico Kuzma rounds out your top 10. Outside of that, Felipe Brecha, Marco Badowski, Miguel Martins, Billy Octane, Mikel Ramos, Theobald Roskin, Boris Shekrzev, Raphael Huell, Daniel Gottschalk, Jack McDonger, your top 20, and I believe Jack McDonger DNF'd along with Nicholas Keller in the hypercar class. Moving on to LMGT3, it was the Grant Willamont show out there in front of the field today. It wasn't actually a lap, I don't believe, but it was near as makes no difference out in front of the field. Christoph Strepa, who was as low as 6th or 7th early in this race, comes all the way back to finish P2. Phil Vick in 3rd rounds out your podium. Ryan Gill in 4th. Ellis Buckley, I believe, did finish. Matt Malcolm, Conkley, and Sinney did not finish the race. So it was an eventful race, Katrina. We got started with the leader or the pole sitter being caught off guard by the abbreviated start. The Ferraris took over and never really relinquished that. The electronic energy is continuing to wreak havoc. Learning the new sim, obviously playing a factor with a couple of the double pit stops. The way the race ended with the extra lap also threw a wrench into some of the strategic value of the pit cycle as well. But on top of that, just some brilliant racing. Kapslar and Willamont, 2 very deserving winners.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing what everybody can do in the next race of the series.
Well, next week we'll be live, same time, same place, as we continue our tour around the world for the LMU Sprint Series here on RCI TV. We'll be live from familiar confines in Monza, Italy. And we will look to see you there next Friday. In between now and then, check the Deutschland Masters Championship on Monday. John Dalton taking you through that, I believe, with Callum Kerrigan on the call. They're at Zolder this week, and I heard, Katrina, there might be inclement weather, and nothing bad happens at Zolder in the rain.
No, I'm sure it'll be fine, and I'm sure all
I-
the drivers will have a great time.
I'm sure they are just loving hearing that as well. One final thank you to all of our partners, AK Esports, Coach Dave, Delta, Greenman Gaming, Moza Racing, and Motorsports UK. Thank them so much for partnering with us and recommending us. We recommend those brands. Support those who support RCI TV. Katrina, before we sign off tonight, I just got to say, first ever broadcast, you have your partner here calling the race for us, or not calling the race, but directing the race for us. Pretty chaotic out there. How do you think it went for you tonight?
Well, I think it went well. I think I got a bit confused, but I think overall it went well. And I had a good time, and that's what I'm here for.
Hey, that's live TV for you. I think you did an absolutely brilliant job. I didn't scare you away. You're coming back next week, right?
Yeah, I'll be here next week.
All right. I don't have to wrangle more talent. I love to see it. Well, it'll be myself, Jesse Lee, with Katrina and Ted Edwards with you next Friday night. Don't forget, Night Owl continues to run this weekend. If you like a little late night racing, that is at Suzuka this weekend. Next broadcast, Deutschland Masters. We'll be back live on Friday for more LMU. Thank you so much for watching. Big shout out to Kevin Boss for his 5 gifted subs over on YouTube. Thank you for your follows, your subscriptions, all of the things that you do that help us keep the lights on and the racing going here. I've been Jesse Lee, joined by Katrina and Ted Edwards. Thank you so much for watching this broadcast. And thank you so much for your participation. We'll see you next week. And until then, have a good night.
You ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Get behind the wheel, let's go. Grip the road, feel the flow. Thunder roaring, steel alive. Live this dream and drive. Tires burning with gasoline. Push the limits, chasing green. One shot, don't slow. Go on, we'll take control. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. The miles they fade, but they don't die. Faster now, the hours fly by. Sweat and gears, hearts in sync. On the edge, on the brink. Clock ticks down, stakes are high. One mistake, we kiss us goodbye. Don't slow down, we're not done. Finish line for the strong ones. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. chasing taillights.